Today, I'm going to be showing you all how you can use your hard-earned credit card points and miles to book and fly Delta award flights. Now, funny enough, this is actually the main redemption method that made me get into this entire credit card points and miles hobby in the first place. And it's because currently I live in Atlanta, which just happens to be like the biggest Delta hub in the world. And so I thought it'd be really convenient if I could find a way to use credit card points and miles to fly Delta flights for free. But when I started looking this up online, I was quickly met with Delta Sky Miles. I need to open up an Amex card, which I really didn't want to do at the time since I was very new in my journey. But this is precisely when I stumbled upon the two redemption methods I'm going to be showing you all in today's video. And these are the methods I've used countless times over the last year to book and fly Delta award flights without using a single Sky Mile. Now, if you do happen to get any value or learn anything new from today's video, all I ask is that you drop a like on this video. And if you're considering opening up any new credit cards to help get you more free travel in the future, well, then I do have a free credit card consultation service that you can use to make sure the next credit card you're opening up is perfect for you. And so I'll leave a link to that down below in the description, but let's get on with the redemption. Now, the goal of today's video is to use our credit card points and miles to book Delta award flights, but without using any Delta Sky Miles. The reason for this is that within the credit card community, it's a pretty well-known fact that Delta Sky Miles are worth just basically nothing. They also have a nickname of Sky Pesos because of their incredibly poor value when trying to redeem them for free flights. And so if you were to use Sky Miles for redemption, you'd be spending a whole lot of points to get a whole little in value, which is the main thing we want to avoid. And so if we're not going to be using Delta's own loyalty program to book Delta award flights, how are we supposed to make this happen? Well, that is where this awesome thing called Airline Alliances come into play, and it's how we're going to be booking Delta award flights using our points and miles. Now, there are three main airline alliances: the Star Alliance, the One World Alliance, and the Sky Team Alliance. For today's video, we're going to be focusing on the Sky Team Alliance, as that is the alliance Delta is a part of. However, there are still some really great redemption options within the Star Alliance and the One World Alliance, which I will be making follow-up videos on in the future. And so more or less how these airline alliances work is, rather than needing to have points and miles across all of these different programs within a single alliance, typically you can have points and miles with just one loyalty program, for example Delta, and you can use those miles to book code share tickets with other airlines in the same alliance, meaning I could use my Delta miles to book Air France tickets or my Delta miles to book all Italia tickets. And that's more or less the general overview of how airline alliances work. And for today, we're going to be focusing primarily on two different airlines within the Sky Team Alliance, that being Flying Blue and Virgin Atlantic. Using these two airline partners, we can transfer our points and miles to Flying Blue and Virgin Atlantic, and then in turn book Delta flights with them, which 9 out of 10 times will be getting us more value for our points and miles than if we use Delta Sky Miles to book the exact same flights. And if you're wondering which credit card points and miles transfer to Virgin Atlantic and to Flying Blue, that would be all of them. Every single major credit card currency out there, whether that is the American Express membership reward points, Chase Ultimate reward points, Bilt points, Citi Thank You points, or Capital One miles, all of these points will transfer at a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning 1,000 of these credit card points would transfer to 1,000 of the loyalty points for either Flying Blue or Virgin Atlantic. And that's why I love this redemption method, is because no matter what credit card strategy you're currently working with, you can still take advantage of this redemption method. Finding award availability for flights used to be a really tricky thing, but fortunately over the last year or so, a ton of tools have come onto the market that make finding these flight award bookings much easier than ever before. And so the tool I'm going to be using today to find all these award flights and compare the price between Delta, Flying Blue, and Virgin is going to be SeatScout. In my opinion, it is the most comprehensive and in-depth search tool out there. And I do also have a paid version of this program, but it is completely free. If you do want to test it out for yourself, you'll only be able to see 60 days into the future in terms of flight award availability. But to find these flights we want to book using our points, all we do is click the search button, and then let's say I want to fly from Atlanta, where I'm currently based, to LAX. Let's say I'm thinking sometime in January or February, I want to experience that California weather. And this is where my pro membership comes in handy, because I can see much further out than with the free membership. But I'm not going to worry about any of these other pro filters. We're simply going to initiate a search, and we see so much happening on our screen. We see a bunch of different award programs, a bunch of different flight options. But to simplify this down, we can go ahead and click the programs button here on the left side and include Air France, Virgin Atlantic. Make sure not to choose Virgin Virgin Australia Velocity. That's an entirely different program. Make sure it's Virgin Atlantic and Delta Sky Miles. So with these 3 programs selected, these will be the 3 main ways you could book Delta flights, but of course, we're going to try not to use any Delta Sky Miles because as you can see, just comparing these 3 flight results, we have 3 different prices. Delta coming in at 32,000 miles and $5.60 for taxes and fees, whereas Flying Blue and Virgin Atlantic are significantly cheaper. Flying Blue is right around 17,000 miles and $20 in taxes and fees, where Virgin Atlantic is only 18.5k miles plus $5.60 in taxes and fees. Now, if we go ahead and select the Delta option, you will see there are so many different flights we can use our points and miles to book this award ticket with. But the cheapest 2 are the 1625 and the 1830 flights, which coincidentally, we have that same option here with Virgin Atlantic, the 1625 flight from Atlanta, and we have this same flight bookable with Flying Blue miles. So it is important to note that there are only 2 flights bookable on this day with Virgin Atlantic points, and there are only 3 flights with Flying Blue that you can book, whereas Delta, if you need a lot of flexibility, this is where booking directly with that airlines can come into play. But I will gladly sacrifice a little bit of flexibility for saving a whole lot of points. And so once you found the flight you're interested in booking, it could not be simpler. All you want to do if you're looking at a Virgin Atlantic flight is click this book via Virgin Atlantic. It will then bring you to the page where you can again see the flight information for the flight you're about to book. It is from Atlanta to Los Angeles, a direct flight, no stops for 18,500 miles, $5.60 in taxes and fees. And you can see right here in the top left hand corner that it says DL301, which means it is a Delta operated flight. And if you wanted to book this flight, it's as simple as transferring over 19,000 credit card points and miles from, again, any one of the major credit card issuers over to Virgin Atlantic. You will need to make a Virgin Atlantic account if you want to complete this booking. Once you transfer over 19,000 points, you could just pay the $5.60 in taxes and fees, and you'd be walking away with a savings of around 14,000 points. But you might have noticed the Flying Blue option is a little bit cheaper. It's the same as before. You click the little information button, you click book via Air France. And again, we can see that with just 16,000 miles, we can book this flight from Atlanta to Los Angeles, operated by Delta on an Airbus A350 for literally half the cost that Delta is charging with their own loyalty program. And if you wanted to calculate the cents per point value of this redemption, meaning how valuable are your points that you're redeeming for this particular flight, it's actually rather easy. The first thing you're going to do is find the cash price of the flight you're interested in. And for Delta specifically, when you book flights with Flying Blue or Virgin Atlantic, you're actually given a main cabin ticket. So you're not given basic economy, which comes with perks like being able to choose your seat for free and you have standard boarding. So this Atlanta to Los Angeles flight is priced at $304 for February 12th, which is important to know because determining the value of your points is as simple as this calculation over on the left hand side. It is simply the cash price of your redemption minus any associated taxes and fees divided by the points cost. So if we were to redeem that flight using our 32,000 Delta Sky Miles, it would be $304 minus the $5.60 in taxes and fees that you also have to pay divided by the 32,000 Delta Sky Miles it costs to redeem the flight, and you're left with an abysmal 0.93 cents per point. Like, that is kind of crazy. I didn't even know the value is going to be that bad. I didn't cherry pick this example. This just kind of proves how poorly valued Delta Sky Miles can be. But if we go and take a look at the value of our redemption when redeeming through Virgin Atlantic, it is going to be this one on the left hand side. 304 minus 560 divided by 18,500 points will net you a 1.61 cents per point value. So it's nearly like 60 to 70% more value on your points by transferring them out and booking the same flight you could have booked if you had, let's say, transferred your Amex MR points to Delta. Just transfer them to Virgin Atlantic instead, and you're saving literally like 60 to 70% worth of your points. For the Flying Blue calculation, it's a little bit different because there are slightly more taxes and fees associated with this redemption. It is 304 minus $19.82 divided by that 16,500 points needed to transfer over and then book this flight. But it still gives us a 1.72 cents per point value on our points, or literally almost double that of the Delta redemption. So it's important to do the cents per point calculation when you're comparing different redemptions for this same exact flight. And to showcase this example again, I am going to look up another flight from Atlanta, this time to both DCA and IAD, What's cool is you can look up multiple flight routes at the exact same time. So from Atlanta to DCA or IAD, saves me so much time when trying to book. So let's go and choose October 15th right here. So it does look like this flight is bookable through all three of the different airline loyalty programs. And it does look like there is options flying into DCA and IAD for all programs as well, which is really convenient. In my instance though, I would rather fly into DCA as it's closer to where I need to be. And so this is a pretty clear-cut win. We have Delta offering a flight with a connection. That's what this blue point price means. If it's green on seats.aero, that means it is a non-stop route. If it's blue, that means you can expect a connection within your flight itinerary. So immediately that is off limits compared to these two non-stop routes. Also, it's almost 40,000 points and miles. And so we can go and compare just to make sure that wow, there are a ton of different options here with Virgin Atlantic bookable for these different Delta routes. I was not expecting that. And let's go check Flying Blue. It seems we have the same availability, but obviously at a much lower price, 7,500 points and just $17 in taxes and fees. So you're paying about an extra $12 in taxes and fees, but you're saving well over 3,000 points when doing so. And this is also one of my favorite ways to get extra value from this partnership is a Virgin Atlantic and Flying Blue. They operate on distance-based award charts, meaning as long as there is standard award availability for the route you're looking at, the price shouldn't spike all the way up to 50 or 100,000 miles because of dynamic pricing that Delta has implemented. I was recently able to take advantage of this sort of arbitrage opportunity, as from Atlanta to Wilmington, it is only 7,500 points and miles when booked through Virgin Atlantic, but this same flight is typically between $250 and $300 one way, which gives me a phenomenal 3.3 cents per point in value when I'm able to take advantage of these particular opportunities. And so using Flying Blue and Virgin Atlantic over the last year, I think I've booked around 6 or 7 trips using those point systems rather than Delta Sky Miles. And I do want to throw out a little caveat that I do live in Atlanta, which is very beneficial for these redemption methods, as I have plenty of flight award availability for most of the routes and the dates that I'm typically looking to book. But if you're flying out of a non-Delta hub or a location that Delta typically doesn't operate a lot of flights into, then you might have a limited flight award availability. But I still think it's worth your time checking to see if this amazing redemption option is available to you. So there you have it, folks. The best ways to book Delta domestic flights using your hard-earned credit card points and miles. Again, if you enjoyed this video or you got any sort of value, a like would be greatly appreciated. And again, I'll leave my link down below in the description to the free credit card consultation service that has helped countless individuals get the credit card points and miles needed to book their dream vacations. And if you enjoyed today's video, then I'd highly recommend checking out this one, as I'm sure you'll also get a ton of value from it.